No, it was fine. Obviously, it was somewhat of a normal inning, which was good, and tried to, throw as few pitches as possible in the bullpen before. So obviously intensity is different and things like that, but that's why I came here yesterday to make sure everything was good, and should be good.
Ron, the microphone's behind you.
Two things. First, shorts last night, were you all cold in that bullpen work?
It's just trying to get used to it. I think, if I'm cold tomorrow or cold yesterday, then won't be as cold tomorrow.
And as you look at the way the game has evolved in the last few years, do you wonder at all if pitchers like you, starting pitchers, 20-win pitchers, will become somewhat extinct in the next 10 years?
No, people are going to need starting pitchers. I think it's a very cost-effective thing to do, obviously, to bullpen and to have a deep bullpen, because starting pitchers are more expensive and things like that. But I think us as an organization, us as a union, will have to definitely take a closer look at that if that's the way the game's going. Because I think everybody should be compensated according to what they're worth in the game. So if bullpen's going to have more value, then they're going to need to pay them more. I think that's just the bottom line. And but to answer your question, you're still going to need to get innings from your starters. You're still going to have to do that over a course of a playoff series. Absolutely, I think you can do that. You saw the Brewers do that very effectively this postseason, and but over a course of 162 games, you're going to need you guys to pitch 6-7 innings.
And right up front here, Mike.
Clayton, when you look back on last year's World Series, right here?
Yeah.
When you look back on last year's World Series, what kind of recollections do you have, and what kind of impact do you think that makes in a positive way for this year?
I think it's good that we've been there. I think for our team, to get to come back after last year and get a taste of it, what it was like last year, and going to 7 games, playing the full 7, and coming that close. I think the experience can help a little bit as far as what to expect, but really other than that, not a whole lot. Yeah.
And you personally?
Same thing. Good experience. Yeah.
And in the back on the
not
left.
Good experience, but experience. Yeah.
The left center aisle, Tim.
I believe you touched on it during the NLCS, but when you think about the World Series and winning one, and the list of things you've accomplished, the list of things the team has accomplished the last 6 years, how critical of a piece is the ring, is winning it all?
It's pretty critical. It's no. I really want to win the World Series. I think that's no different than the other 50 guys in both locker rooms, though. I think it doesn't. I think the only difference maybe is that because we've gotten so close in the past, because we've gotten to go to the postseason, we're a little bit spoiled in our expectations every year with the Dodgers, which is a great thing. But realistically, you go into spring training, every team says they want to win a World Series, but realistically, that's probably not an option for, at least half the teams. So for us, when we really say it, we really mean it. When we get to go to the postseason 6 times in a row, it becomes that much more evident that we're very fortunate to be on a great team, but we're still missing that ring. And, there's no secret that we want to win.
On your right, 5 rows back.
Clayton, I got 2 for you. One, is it any more difficult to spin the ball in the cold?
I think, as a starting pitcher, you get pretty loose, pretty warm before the game, and then, the trick is to try and stay loose in between innings. But once you're out there and once you're loose, there's really not that much of a difference between warm or cold. Obviously, I haven't pitched in the cold very much, done it a few times, but it's, once you get loose, once you get out there, it's really not that much different.
And then secondly, is it part of your process to look across at who the opposing pitcher is, and can you appreciate at all the 2 best southpaws in the game going against each other, Game 1 of the World Series?
Chris is a very good pitcher. He was dominant this year. He's been dominant for a long time. I enjoy watching him compete. American League Park's a little different. Don't have to hit against him. It's probably wouldn't have been a great matchup for me, but I have nothing but good things to say about him and the way he competes and the way he's pitched the last few years. And I don't take much solace in the fact about the matchup or anything like that. I don't really care too much, other than I'd like him to not be as good so he could have a better chance of winning for sure.
And we'll stay right there. Allison.
Clayton, throughout this postseason, of course, we've seen a lot of teams that go with the bullpenning and relying so heavily on the relievers. But this World Series is really going to be based on a lot of starting pitching, and that could really determine who wins this series. How important is it to you to be a part of that and to go deep into these games and have this as more of a traditional series?
Well, every series plays out differently. I know they made a big deal about the bullpens in our last series with the Brewers, and it ended up being that the Brewers starters threw the ball really well, and our bullpen threw the ball really well. So it really, we've got some names and some recognition, obviously, on the starting pitcher side, but other than that, just go out there and win the game. Doesn't matter if you throw 3 innings, 5 innings, 7 innings. Everybody's going to be ready. There's only 7 games left potentially, so try and make them count.
And the last row on your left, Gabe.
Clayton, what have you learned over the years about the toll that pitching all the way through October can take on your body, and what you might be able to do to limit that? And have you gotten, I guess, smarter and more efficient about that over the last half dozen years?
Yeah, I've gotten hurt the last few years. Really kept my innings down. It's been good. I think pitching in the World Series, you're kind of just pitching on adrenaline all the way through October anyway. So, I'm sure all of us, come November 1st, probably aren't feeling so great when the adrenaline kind of wears off. But it's kind of one big sprint this month, and then you take a little bit to regroup. But everybody's probably feeling fine right now, for sure.
And the last row on your right, Tyler.
Is this a place, you having never pitched here before, is this a place that you've always sort of hoped to pitch someday with all you've done in your career? It's kind of funny you still haven't pitched here.
I don't really think about that stuff. I think, I appreciate the history and everything that goes along with Fenway Park, but I came here, I don't know how long ago, 2000-something, and got to at least see it, got to be here, got to appreciate, the stadium and things like that. Check this one off as far as pitching tomorrow, but I don't really think about the history part of it too much, honestly.
And the right center aisle, JP.
Clayton, when you look at left field there in the short porch, do you compare it at all to maybe, pitching in Houston, the way they had the left field short porch there? And can you take anything from pitching against the Astros last year into Fenway?
No, short porches obviously in both places to left, but I don't think you can let the ballparks dictate how you pitch. I think you just have to continue to go with your game plan regardless of where you're pitching. And usually when I give up homers, they're not cheap anyway, so it probably won't matter if there's a fence there or not that's really close. But I don't take too much. I don't look too much into the ballparks, honestly. I think. It'll be good to get out there today with our team, and just so we can get a feel for it, outfield-wise, positioning-wise, things like that. But other than that, don't take too much stock into it.
2 more for Clayton. And there's a hand in the back. Mark.
Hey, Clayton. What do you think the job Friedman has done since he came over here? He was obviously in a small market situation, had some success there, a little different situation with a payroll to work with here. How would you kind of analyze the boss's work, give him a job review?
Yeah, you can't say bad, right? I think Andrew's done great. It's been fun to be a part of what he's done here, and obviously, honestly, a lot of the changes you don't see on the other side of like the research and development and the minor league system and things like that. Things that he's had a big part in changing around here. But you can't argue with the results. He's put us in a great position to win every single year. Has brought in guys mid-season, in the off-season, things like that. And obviously at the major league level, we don't really care about the minor league system and things like that. We just want to win now. But he's done a great job of, not taking everything out of the farm system either, which I guess is important.
Obviously, Clayton's going to go game 1, and then Hyun Jin will go game 2, and then Walker will pitch game 3.
Earlier remarked on how famous you are here and how you've made a lucrative business.
Did he really?
Signing autographs. So just from your perspective, how lucrative has that been?
Probably not as lucrative as Alex made it sound. It is great coming back to this great city, and I've got nothing but great memories. Even flying into Logan, and just this time of year, this city, the leaves changing, and then you drive up to Fenway Park, and it all just kind of comes back to you, 2004, and the teammates that I had, the coaches, and that energy that only Fenway Park has. So to kind of recount that, and you take it on another level of Alex and I were former teammates and very good friends, and competing with each other, against each other, and to kind of see our different paths and where we've come. It's really exceeded all of our dreams, and this is a dream job for me, and I know, speaking for him, this is his dream job. So for us to play for a world championship, West Coast, East Coast, Dodgers, Red Sox, I just can't see it getting any better.
And right up front here, Mike.
Dave, what you know about Alex, obviously having played with him, what gave you the indication, or early on perhaps, that he would make a great manager?
First off, he loves the game of baseball. He has a crazy passion for it. Very detail-oriented. Always curious about strategies and the why. His ability to focus as a teammate, to just really be able to focus for 3 hours. He has that ability. And lastly, connected people, was a leader, always a leader. And so he checks a lot of boxes. So to see him in this position, no surprise, and I couldn't be more happy for him.
And Tim in the third row.
Dave, I'm curious. I'm sure over the years you've heard countless stories of where people were when you stole the base, like what it meant to them and things like that, probably while signing all the balls and getting all the money. But I'm curious if any really struck you, how many of these things you've heard. I'm sure there were a million people in the ballpark by now having witnessed that. But what like the personal part of these stories that you probably hear over and over again has touched you?
Well, they all touch me in different ways, and I think that the key that I've really grown to appreciate is it's not about me. I understand that it was a big play, and for me, for the Red Sox and our club in 2004, but understanding that everyone has a moment, and that moment is special to them or whoever they're with, and however they identify that play with that particular moment, and for them to want to share that with me, that's pretty humbling. So so I've really grown to love to hear the different stories, and I've heard stories of parents on their deathbed and got to see it, and then finally gave way once they saw us win a championship, and it doesn't get more impactful or heartwarming than that.
And seated toward the back, Jesse.
Hey, Dave. Yasiel Puig hit a 3-run homer last series. He's also had a few mental lapses earlier in the playoffs. How do you balance that risk-reward when inserting him into the lineup, and what are your expectations for him this series?
Yasiel's had some mental lapses. Is that right? There's certainly our job as coaches is to continue to teach players, and there's certainly a lot of upside with Yasiel. There's a lot of energy. There's a little bit, or maybe a little bit more of there's some recklessness. So my job, the coach's job, is to continue to embrace it to some extent, but also harness it. So there is a balance, but certainly with Yasiel, the net is certainly a positive.
And to your right, Ken.
Dave, Manny Machado obviously was a very he's got a lot of attention during this playoff run, and he has a history with this fan base as well. Just wondering how you feel he's dealt with being the villain.
Well, for us, he's posted. He prepares every game. He's doing whatever he feels necessary to help us win baseball games. I don't think the attention that he's receiving is affecting him. I think he just has a good way to channel that for the positive. So I've heard a little bit about the history with the Red Sox, but when you're in the World Series, I think that each team's goal is to win 4 baseball games. So I don't think that the history really has any effect on these next games.
And Allison to the right here.
Hi, Dave.
Allison.
With all of the talk about bullpenning and how a lot of the playoff teams had to piece together their pitching, and now we're in the World Series, we see 2 teams that rely largely on starting pitching. Just how much of a comfort is it for you, and to be able to know that your starters not only can go deep into games, but can also actually decide some of these games?
It's every ball club operates differently depending on their personnel. And last year we were a little bit different than this year. Milwaukee's a little bit different than we are. But for me to have 4 guys that you're going to run out there that you feel confident that can give you X amount of outs and shorten a game, I think that that's a lot more comforting than to kind of premeditated get 6 to 9 outs and then try to patch things together. And especially when you're talking about a 7-game series, the last series of the year where guys have been used and workloads and things like that. And I do think that with us last year, there was a little bit of overexposure with our pen with the Astros. So right now where we're at, we're definitely cognizant of that too.
And the right center aisle, Arash.
Dave, with Muncy, when along the way did he become somebody who was effectively replacing, filling in for guys who are injured, to becoming the offensive threat, the player that he's become?
I don't recall exactly when, but I do know that once we recalled him in April, there was a little bit of a struggle. His first 20 at-bats, he was swinging at a lot of balls down below. And I think in Arizona, he might have hit a homer the other way and just got his confidence. And from that point on, just the at-bat quality continued to be consistent, even against the left-hander. And it was just to a point where we couldn't keep him out of the lineup. And his story of being out of baseball for a quick minute, being a non-roster invitee, college kid out of Baylor, Midwest, and South. But so for him to kind of win a job and win at bats, he kind of typifies a lot of the guys that we have on our club.
And Tyler?
David, you had your magic moment, in 04. David Freese had a couple of his own in 11. Can you relate a little bit to sort of how that moment always stays with you, in a good way, your whole life, and what has David brought to this team in the short time he's been here?
I think one part of it is just the preparation, and when you can always rely on your preparation, the moment shouldn't get too big for you, and you have a way of calming your nerves to not try to do too much. So that's kind of how I approached the postseason, and I think David feels the same way, and he has a calm about him when he's in the batter's box, and the players that do perform on the biggest of stages have that kind of similarity. David's just brought professionalism, a toughness, experience, and a buy-in. And if you can look back at how he's been used since he's been here, it's been a little unorthodox. But for him, when a player tells you, you never have to explain why you do what you do, I'm here to support you in any way I possibly can. That's just who David Freese is, and it makes my job a lot easier. He'll be in there.
Third row on your left, Ron.
While all the data you have and the resultant defensive shifts and pitching changes give you a better chance to win the game, does part of you as a fan wonder whether the increase in strikeouts and the decrease in hits makes the game less appealing for fans, especially maybe the casual fans who only tune in this time of year?
There's certainly something to be said for that, because ball in play, double plays, defense, that's always exciting. The hit and run. But if you look at, I know our series, there was a lot of strikeouts, but there was the strategy part of it. I think that's very that's very exciting for a baseball purist that loves to see what managers think and how you can kind of match up against the opposition. But still, the talent that is on the field, that's going to be on the field tomorrow and in this entire postseason, is like there's never been. So when you're talking about the strikeout, the reason we can talk about the swings and not the intent to shorten up or use the other side of the field, but the facts are the velocity has increased exponentially, and you have to appreciate that as well. So there's not just one side of it, and a lot of credit goes to those big arms too. So it's not easy to just always put a ball in play. But I just really appreciate how many good players there are in today's game.
Do some quick ones. This right corner here.
I just want to dovetail off of you talking about calming the nerves. You guys have been heavy favorites to get back to this place again now. And this is one of the first times that you guys have really been kind of seen as underdogs, especially by Vegas. Do you feel like you're playing with house money? And if you do you feel like that's mentally freeing and able to calm your nerves a little bit more as a club?
Yeah, it's kind of a role reversal for us. You know, it's the high payroll, high-powered Red Sox. So for us to kind of be in the game, that's a good thing for us. So I like the underdog role, but I do know that everyone in our clubhouse doesn't see it as icing on the cake. It's been our goal since last year to win a World Series. So it's a good club over there, but we still like our guys, and it's going to be a good one, and they're going to get everything we have.
Do three last quick ones in red here.
Dave, quickly, two things. Who's your DH tomorrow?
Matt Kemp.
Okay. And you talked about your time with Alex in L.A. What did you guys see in each other? Did you talk about possibly managing then? Were there other guys in the team you thought might? And other experiences you had there that shape you today?
There was a lot of talk of Alex potentially managing, and I think that that's something, even when he was playing, he had visions of doing that or doing this. Me, not so much. But we didn't talk about it a whole lot. But I know that Jim Tracy was our manager, and we talked about a lot of strategies and being in this game for the long haul and just loving this game of baseball. So however it was going to play out, but I was pretty certain that Alex was going to be in this chair at some point.
We'll do two last ones, the right center aisle there.
Dave, do you have any concern about you pitching Game 2 instead of Game 3 because he was better at Dodger Stadium and the Penway Park is a totally new place for him, so?
No. With Hyun-Jin, he's been very good at Dodger Stadium. But if he's executing pitches and being on the road, we're not concerned. He's had a tremendous year, and pitching in big games, whether it be at home or on the road, his pulse, as we've talked about with a lot of our players, isn't a concern of ours.
And Bill Plunkett.
And kind of following up on that, what was the thought process that you choose Rue over Hill for the Game 2? And kind of following up on Bill, you and Alex are the first minority managers to face off in the World Series. I know that's not a topic you like to put out front, but what significance is there to that for you?
Well, to the Rue question, we just feel that for him to be able to pitch 2 games in this series, he's had a short one here in Milwaukee, but the rest he's on turn, and we like Walker behind him, and we like Walker pitching at home, and with Rich getting a little bit extra time pitching at home, which he pitches well there too. So we just feel comfortable with that, the way we line things up. As far as the 2 minority managers, I guess opposing each other first time in Major League history, in World Series history, it's I don't take a whole lot of time in kind of thinking about it, but when I do, as in right now, it's special, and it's not about myself or Alex, and just to see the minorities get opportunities and perform and do well, I think that gives opportunities for others. And so there's a responsibility that I know that Alex shares and I do, to do things the right way and to be good leaders. And so, up to this point, I think we've done a pretty good job, but I hope more minorities get opportunities, certainly.
And we'll finish up with Hazel in the third row.
Hi, Dave. Just piggybacking off that, are you happy with how baseball has been able to diversify at the managerial level? Do you think there's enough minority managers out there right now?
I don't think that, I think there could be more, certainly. But I'm not in tune with every single managerial process. But being on the diversity committee that I am on and trying to get opportunities in higher positions for minorities, men, women, I think that where the needle is moving, maybe not as quickly as most people would like, but I'm always encouraging minorities to get opportunities. But like Alex said, we don't do the hiring. So, but to look across the field and see a minority in the dugout certainly is exciting.